we talk about, we want to lay this foundation. I'm really excited about today's conversation. Every week we talk about just the reality of managing our goals and how do we ensure that we manage those goals on a consistent basis. And so today, as we always do, let me pull this up for us. Make sure that you all can see me here. Okay, excellent. Yeah, so to make sure that we can really just make sure our goals are locked in, we always start off with a review of last week, right? And so let me pull this up. So we want to start off with just super high level, really identifying. All right, let's evaluate. All right, it'll be helpful if my pen was working. Well, while that charges for 30 seconds, right? We always want to start off by just evaluating kind of where we were last week, what went well, what didn't go well, what's working, what's not working, right? So let me ask you all that question. How are you doing with actually working through this process of evaluating your week from week to week? Is that something that you're engaged in? Is it something that you're not engaged in? Like, what does that look like for you all?
It's kind of different every week. Well, not different. I kind of generally, it's something that's on my mind, like I said. Like once you planted that seed, I'm thinking about it. May not actively do it, but at some point in the week, I'm kind of checking in and running through the process of, you know, checking my goals and checking, my something.
Okay. Okay. So we want to make sure. I I I would love for you. I would love for you to just say, okay, I'm going to set aside 10 minutes Sunday morning. Put it on your calendar, right? The same way you put every other important meeting on your calendar. I don't know if you're time blocking, when you work out, I'm sure you are, or when you're engaged in certain activities. I would love for you just to put it on your calendar and say, I'm time blocking 10 minutes on Sunday just to take time and to evaluate, right? What went well this last week? There is so much that we always say that experience is the best teacher. Well, yes, if we are reflecting on those experiences. So it's not so much that experience is the best teacher, it's reflected, understood experiences are the best teacher. And so the only way that we can really move from this idea of experience to integrating the lessons and the learnings is really to make sure that we're evaluating and that we're reflecting, right? So I would really want to encourage you to do that and just time block it. Once we evaluate, then obviously we want to go into what are our intentions for this new week, right? We start with intentions. After intentions, that leads us to our goals. What are our goals? And then what is the roadmap, right? / what is the plan? And then the next one is how do we execute, right? And to execute, we always talk about we need support and we need accountability. And if you don't need support and accountability to execute, then your goals may be, no judgment, they may be too small. This is a pregnant pause. If you don't need support and accountability to execute, your goals may be too small. Let me say it again. We want to set our intentions, then we want to establish our goals, then we want to really outline what is the roadmap, what's the plan that we need to implement in order to achieve our goals, and then we have to figure out, okay, I need to execute. If I don't need support and if I don't need accountability to execute, if I don't have a team around me that is required in order to execute that goal, then that goal may be too small. Now, there's nothing wrong with small goals. Like I may say, hey man, yeah, this week I want to, you know, I don't want to eat any sugar this week. Okay, yeah, that's a relatively small goal. And I might not need a whole team to help me do that, but I might still need the support of my spouse, my kids, letting them know, hey, this week I'm making a commitment, maybe talking to a good friend, one of your homeboys, hey, this week I'm making a commitment not to do this. So even if it's a small goal, there should still be some level of support that you're reaching out to, letting people know, checking in, accountability for you as you're going towards reaching that goal, right? The larger the goal, the bigger the team. The larger the goal, the bigger the team. And we see this applied to every area of our life, whether it's sports, whether it's, professional leadership, CEO. Like we see this on every level, that if we have a really, really big goal, we're going to need a really, really big team. We're going to need more coaches. We're going to need more trainers. We're going to need more in a sports arena. We're going to need more nutritionists. We're going to need more physical therapists, massage therapists. Like we're going to need more because we have a really, really big goal. And so I really want you to think about, as we're in the middle of Q3, August, we got about 6 weeks left until the end of Q3. The question I want you to really ask yourself is, my goals for Q3, what were they? And how much progress am I making on them? And if I'm not making the progress I need to be making, then the question goes back to, do I have the support, the accountability? Am I tapping in? Am I reaching out? Who's on my team? Who's in my crew? Right? Who's in my corner? And we've talked about this before. You are a boxer in a boxing rink and you're going up against your goals. You need to have people in your corner, right? Who's your coach, right? I can serve that role. We have these bi-weekly check-ins, right? Do you have other coaches, other people in your life that you're working with? Who's that cheerleader, right? Who's the cheerleader in your life that's like, yo, you got this, keep going? And they're encouraging. The great thing about cheerleaders is that they cheer, every time you see a team, like if you miss a shot, what does a cheerleader do? High school football cheerleaders, college cheerleaders, they're still like jumping and flipping and bouncing around, right? They want to let you know, even though you might have missed a shot, like you're still our guy. You still got this. You can still crush it. So who are the cheerleaders in your team? Who are the champions? Who are the champions in your team? Right? The champion is that person you're looking to. It's that person you're looking to. The person you're looking to who is almost like a few steps ahead of you, right? They're your inspiration. They're pulling you forward, right? A champion is a puller. They're pulling you forward. A coach is a pusher. They're pushing you from behind. They're pushing you. Right? So you're thinking about in a real sense, you're going through your week, you're going through this month, you're going through this quarter, and you're asking yourself the question, okay, who are these people in my life in my corner to ensure that I reach this goal? Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Yes, we've talked about this on some level. We've talked about this. Questions, thoughts, comments?
I think for me, I do continually hear your voice course of the week, reminding me, your goals. Am I following through and things like that?
Yep.
Yes, I do have my goals. With that being said, with the shift that I'm still navigating, I'm finding that in as much as I am pulling through, I'm not pulling through on the intended goals that I had at the beginning of this
Sure. Yeah.
cohort.
Yeah. For you, Sam, I recognize, and not just for you, but for other people who are going through a season of transition. Maybe you're relocating, right? We know Simone and her husband, their family, they just relocated. So there's a season of transition. There's other people who are transitioning. Family dynamics are changing and family relationships are changing. And there's a season of transition. And you may not have anticipated when you started the year that in the middle of 2025, you would be going through a transition. So I want you to be kind to yourself. I want you to be compassionate with yourself. I want you to give yourself the grace to know that as you are navigating this season of transition, right, we need to adjust. That's fine, right? We adjust. We call an audible. I'm using a lot of sports analogies today, but when you're on the football field and you see the defense lining up differently than what you expected, you call an audible. Okay, I thought I was going to crush my goals and finish my degree and write that book and start my business this year. But now we have to relocate. Now we're going through transition. And so rather than doing all these the big three goals I had, you know what? My one goal is just to connect with my family, to make sure we all transition safely, right? And so you adjust. And so I want you to have grace and to be kind to yourself through this season. Yeah, 100%. But I would say though, do not abandon the goal. Meaning, your goal when you started the year may have been to finish the degree, to start your own business. Okay, I need to call an audible. I need to adjust in light of my new circumstances. What is my new goal? So don't abandon goal setting. So you might say, my new goal is to make sure we get relocated and we transition, peacefully, and we're all in one piece, right? So you're still leveraging the principles of goal setting as you're navigating this season that you're in. So that's what I mean. When I say don't abandon the goal, I'm saying don't abandon goal setting. Even if you're in a storm, what is your goal in the storm?
Indeed.
Right?
Yeah, and thank you for that as well. Also, I guess sort of a win slash working through the tiniest part of my goal. As I'm talking to you right now, I did finally outsource people to come and clean my house.
Come on now.
So there's two of them right now, like literally right now working on that to reduce the workload and all that because I've been working 12 14-hour shifts 4 5 days a week.
Yep.
And by the time you come home, it's like, when do I clean?
Yeah, man, listen.
We tried. So today, like right now, they are working on it. I'm like, oh.
Yes.
I'm so used to doing things for myself. When they started, they came in at 7 in the morning. I found myself doing the work with them.
No. Listen, we have cleaners. They were coming once a week, and then we moved them to twice a month. And let me just tell you, if you're not using cleaners to help you, right, to help you around the house and to keep things in order, I want to give you permission to at least try it at least once a month, right? Because if you have some good ones, man, it makes life just a little bit more. So that's beautiful. So congratulations on that, Sam. The last piece I want to give you is this connector here, right? So these are the four people. The connector is that person who's aware of your goal and they are able to connect you to right resources, right? Oh, I know someone else who you should partner with. Oh, have you connected to this person, right? And so if you're going to continue to scale and grow and reach your goals, you need a coach, you need cheerleaders, right? You need champions, and you need connectors in your life, right? So this is just kind of foundational. We do this every week, one-on-one, very basic. Take 10 minutes this week to work through this process, really clarifying, okay, how did last week go? What are my intentions for this week? What are my 2, no more than 3 SMART goals for this week? What's my plan to actually execute on those SMART goals? And then what support, what accountability do I need in order to execute? Right. So I know that makes sense because we've covered this like 100 times. I want to shift really quickly, and we're going to spend the next 15 minutes or so. I want to shift really quickly, and I want to dive in I want to ask you a question. My question is, and you can put it in the chat. I'm trying to monitor the chat as well. You can put it into the chat. The question is, what are you committed to? When you think about your life, what are you committed to? What are your commitments? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat. What are your commitments?
Being present for my kids.
So you're committed to your family, is what I hear you saying. I'm committed to my family. Okay. What else? What are your other commitments?
I guess also learning to practice self-love without guilt.
Okay, so you're committed to personal growth, personal development, right? I hear you saying you're committed to self-love. What else are you committed to? What are your commitments? When you think about your life, when you think about your professional life, what are your commitments?
I'm actually scared to say if it's still a commitment, pursuing my master's.
Okay.
I really want to do it, but again, because of the transition and other factors, I'm scared to put it down as a commitment as I intended earlier this year.
Okay, so you're saying there's some type of career, academic pursuit that you're committed to, on paper, but obviously you're going through a season of transition, so that may not be as salient or as strong of a commitment.
Indeed.
Okay. Jason, SJ, what about you? Okay. I would need you to unmute and say more about that, Jason. Capacity.
Challenging myself in all areas. So like even with those asks, those all family finance, but reaching my capacity in those areas so that I'm now operating from a place of overflow. So like just maximizing everything. So like things that we've talked about in terms of just tapping into the book stuff, tapping into the thinking.
Yeah.
Just reaching my goals.
Yeah.
In all those spaces.
Yeah. So you're committed to capacity. I would add margin. SJ, you're committed to your health. So what I've realized is that our ability to reach our goal is largely going to be determined by our level of commitment. And the more committed we are to something, the more likely we are to actually see that thing come to pass. Like if I am committed to my wife, then I am going to be faithful to her, right? I'm committed to her. I'm not going to be stepping out, sleeping around, right? If I'm committed to her, if I'm committed to getting out of debt, then I'm going to be, managing my money, managing my finances, managing my time, effectively. If I'm committed to being healthy, like SJ said, then I'm going to be watching what I eat. I'm going to be making sure I am exercising, lifting something heavy every single day. If I'm committed to my health, if I'm committed spiritually to my relationship with God, then I'm going to be getting up and having devotion and journaling and meditating and praying and witnessing and engaging in discipleship practices and evangelism practices. If I'm truly committed to that thing, right? That for us, our ability to achieve goals is 100% determined by our level of commitment to those goals. But what many of us experience over time is that we have a goal that we're unable to truly execute on. And sometimes I think it's because we're waiting for motivation to step in. And so let me just talk about myself. So, finishing my PhD. If you asked me 6 months ago, are you committed to finishing your PhD? And I'm like, I don't know. Well, no, duh, right? That's why you haven't finished it, because the level of commitment wasn't really there. And the times when I would or would not work on it were truly solely based off of whether I felt motivated to work on it. Now, motivation is interesting because motivation is, and we may have covered this, it is state-based, meaning it is driven by my mood. So my mood determines whether or not I am motivated to actually go. So if I feel good, I had a good night's sleep, 8 hours, I woke up well rested, I'll go to the gym. But if I'm stressed and overwhelmed and frustrated and I'm not motivated and I just want to bury myself in a pint of peppermint gelato, then I'm not going to the gym. And so for many of us, as long as our goals are being dictated by motivation, we will have a sometimey relationship with it. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And so we really have to move from this place of motivation, which is state-based, to a place of commitment, which is identity-based. And y'all know I can't spell or write, so you just got to rock with me. Identity-based. And commitment says I'm committed to my wife. And the reason why it is identity-based is because commitment is based on a role that I am playing. My role is husband. My role, I'm committed to my daughters. My role is father, right? My role is coach. I'm committed to my community. I'm committed to the clients that I serve. My role is coach. My role is consultant, right? I'm committed to my walk with the Lord. My role is discipleship. When something becomes a role, it enters into the realm of identity. But as long as I have not yet associated a role with the goal, then by and large, my pursuit of that goal will be largely driven by motivation. What is my role with my health? Well, my role is to achieve the optimum highest level of physical health possible, of mental health possible. And the reason why I'm playing that role, I'm pursuing that role, is because once I embody that role as a fit individual, it then allows me to play a stronger role as a husband, a stronger role as a speaker, a stronger role as a pastor, as a coach, as a father, because now my health is actually helping me play this other role. So I want you to think about what roles you need to play or you might need to start playing in your life that would move you from this kind of state-based motivation to an identity-based commitment. Does this make sense at all? Y'all tracking? Y'all picking up what I'm putting down here? Make sense? Thumbs up. Fire emoji. If it doesn't make sense, then then I gotta say it all over. All right, so it makes sense, right? So what is your role in light of your goals? What is your role? Allow your goal to determine your role. Allow your goal to determine your role. If my goal is to win a championship, then my role has to be, I have to be a phenomenal point guard, shooting guard. If my goal is to get a scoring title, using more sports analogies, then my role is I have to be the best shooter in the league. I have to embody that role. If my goal is to see my daughters grow up and to have high levels of self-confidence and high levels of agency and high levels of positive optimism in their life, if that's my role, if that's my goal, then my role must be to be this father who speaks life to them, to be courageous, to be a father who demonstrates, significant levels of patience and is working with them. Why? Because my role, the role that I play, will determine whether or not I actually reach that goal. And once I embody a role and I remind myself of my role, it then melds into my identity, and that's where commitment begins to rise. Now, we can still use motivation. Motivation is like the spark plug in the car that gets the car going, but commitment is when you put your foot on the gas pedal. The spark plugs, motivation, won't take you the distance. What actually takes you the distance is commitment, and commitment, it almost looks like this. Motivation starts us. Commitment is what starts moving us. Discipline is what allows us to demonstrate a level of consistency in this commitment. And as I put forth both discipline and commitment, I then experience high levels of engagement. I'm engaged. I'm all in. When I say engagement has meanings of dedication, absorption, however you spell it. I'm fully absorbed in that thing. And vigor. I bring my full self. So motivation is the spark. Commitment kind of keeps us going. Discipline refines, leads me towards engagement. I'm fully dedicated. I'm fully absorbed. I bring I bring full vigor. And for all of this, really understanding and reminding yourself of the role that you play is very important. Does it make sense? Thoughts, questions? So, We're asking ourselves, what role this week? Okay, what's my goal? And then what role do I need to play? What role do I need to play? When you're stressed and you're maybe frustrated, taking a step back and saying, what role do I need to play right now? My daughters might be acting out and I just want to pop off and like get frustrated and just like give them, give them a piece of my mind or whatever that might look like, or be kind of short-tempered with them because I'm tired of telling them to do the same thing over and over again. I have to take a step back and I have to say, Seth, what role are you playing? If I fail to reach the goal, it's probably because on some level I have forgotten the role that I play. And so we want to move, we don't want to just rely solely on motivation. We want to understand, okay, motivation can get me started, but at some point, whatever that goal is, it has to become a part of my identity. It has to be identity-based, not just state-based. And this is not to demonize motivation, because all of us have a motive, right? So motivation is good. We need motivation. But there are some times when my daughters, specifically my 9-year-old, will say, Daddy, let me give you a piggyback ride. And she'll want me at 210 pounds to get on her back. And I'm like, baby, like, if I get on your back, that'll be the end of your back, right? She's like, no, I'm strong enough. I can hold you up. Get on my back. I'm like, my feet are going to be hitting the ground. You're not even tall enough to hold me. I don't care. Just try. Just get on my back. And I will like climb on her back. And obviously I'm not putting all my weight on her and I'm kind of balancing it on one foot. And then she collapses under the weight of this 210-pound man. That's what happens when you put all of your goals on motivation. If you put all of your goals on motivation, I'm only going to do it when I feel motivated, and it never becomes a part of your identity. You are like a 9-year-old who weighs, 70 pounds to carry a grown man who weighs 210 pounds. The goal will crush you because motivation cannot sustain the goal. But when you allow commitment, which is, this is who I am. I am a healthy person. Therefore, I work out 5 days a week. I am a healthy person. Therefore, I eat, healthy every single day. I am a engaged, present parent. Therefore, I will show up with patience and compassion with my children. I am an extraordinary leader. Therefore, I will show up with purpose and commitment and focus with my team. I am a phenomenal pastor. Therefore, I will do the things that are required of me in this role, right? I am a author. Therefore, I will write every single day, right? When you allow your identity to consume the goal, then commitment arises because it is who you are. Excuse me. And I don't gotta wait for motivation. Are you motivated to be a good husband today, Seth? Not really, so therefore I'm not. What type of sense? I would be divorced yesterday if I had that mindset. But because I'm committed, I'm not motivated to go home tonight. Okay, that's going to lead to some problems, right? But because I'm committed, I do it. So whatever your goal, in the areas that we talk about, and we're wrapping up, whatever your goal, in the areas that we talk about, right? Your faith goal, right? Your finance goal, your fitness goal, your family goal, your future self, which is like your career, right? Your career goal, whatever your goals are, we want them to be identity based or identity driven. The reason I'm going after this financial goal, because this is who I am. The reason I'm going after this family goal is because this is who I am. The reason I'm going after this faith goal is because this is who I am. So start to make the shift. Start to make the mental shift in your mind to go from state-based to identity-based. And one of the ways you begin to make that mental shift is through understanding, what is my role? In light of this goal, what is my role? In light of this goal, what is my role? The way that we make this shift is by saying, in light of the goal, what is my role? Questions, thoughts, ideas.
I like the flip, the positive perspective.
Say that again.
I said I like the flip. Speaking from a positive perspective, like because I am this, this is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this to become this. I am this already, and then my habits are just following who I am.
Yes. And the reason that is so important is because studies have shown, research has shown, and I've experienced it, your identity leads to actions, your actions lead to results. We know this. Your identity leads to actions, actions leads to results. But what we often fail to realize is that your identity drives your results, and your results reinforce your identity. So there is this symbiotic relationship. A lot of times we think, oh, the results are going to drive my identity. So when I win the championship, then I will be a champion. And that's not how it works. You are a champion in your mind first. And by being a champion in your mind, you're then going to engage in champion type of practice, activities, consistency, dedication, grit, resilience, which will then lead to champion results, which will then reinforce your identity of a champion. This reinforcement is public. This drive is private. And that's a distinction that we have to be clear in our minds with. Because a lot of times we say, well, we're going to wait for the public to validate my identity. We're going to wait for the public to determine my identity. I can't say I'm something unless I've proven it. Well, that's not how it works. Not from a Christian biblical perspective, not from a psychological perspective, right? From a Christian biblical perspective, there's this thing called sanctification. No. Justification simply means that God calls you something that you are not. He gives you an identity, and then, which is private between you and him, and then you begin to go through this process of sanctification. You get the results, glorification, which reinforces the identity. That's a biblical worldview. From a psychological worldview, is the exact same thing. Is that when I start to tell myself, I am a champion, I am an author, I am a phenomenal parent, I am not a smoker, I don't step out on my wife, I don't do these things, I am faithful, I am consistent, right? When you start to tell yourself those things in private, even if your behavior doesn't necessarily line up with what you're telling yourself, because you are establishing a new identity in your mind, that new identity, if you don't stop, it will influence the actions that you take, which will then determine the results that you get. It will drive privately your results, and then once you get those results, winning the championship, publishing the book, right, being faithful and committed to your spouse, and being like, once you get those results, it is then reinforced, and your identity is reinforced in public. I hope this makes sense. So what I want you to do is understand that in this relationship that's taking place right here, motivation, like, it can get you started, but this action, let me just put it in a different color, right? These actions that you're taking, this is because of commitment. It's because of commitment. It's not because of motivation. It's identity-based commitment. Because I am this, I will therefore do that, which will lead me to these results. And then the results validate what I already thought about myself. And then the crowd comes and says, oh, congratulations, you won the award, you won the championship, oh, you won the game. And it's like, yo, I already knew I won. Like, I already knew this is who I was. I'm glad that you all finally know. Because in my mind, I already knew it. All right. So for this week, what I want you to do is really think about, what is my goal, and how does my identity, what role do I need to play to reach that goal? What is my goal, and what role do I need to play to reach that goal? That's what we're wrestling with. What is my goal, and what role do I need to play to reach that goal? We're good? Yes. The best time to do this is when you're journaling early in the morning, when you're journaling late at night. That's why we journal every single day. You have a gratitude journal, you have a goal-setting journal, and you're writing these things down. You're writing them down. Don't just think about it in the car, but you need to take some time, silence and solitude and meditation, and write these things down. All right? I pray this was a blessing to you. We will be on Thursday, right? So we'll see you then. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out and to tap in, text me, call me, and I would love to connect with you. I love you. Have a phenomenal week, and we'll see you next time. Peace.